First, let's reintroduce Marina Stark to us. Marina Stark is a Berlin-based senior colorist whose work spans feature films, episodic series, commercials, and music videos. Marina's talent has been recognized with multiple honors, and she is not a stranger to the FilmLight Colour Awards, as she has now received a total of 7 nominations across the years with 2 wins. Her key projects include the Emmy-winning series, The Empress for Netflix, the feature film Dead of Winter, and the Apple series Berlin ER. She's also brought her refined eye to commercials for brands including Sony, Mercedes, Nike, Coach, and many others. Thank you. But we got a video from the DOP coming.
Hi, I'm Jacob A. I'm the DP who shot Converse project and had the immense pleasure of working with Marina on it. The shoot was in Senegal, and I'd never worked with Marina before, so I didn't really know what to expect. But as always, as most DPs know, you're very nervous to work with a colorist who you've never worked with before because it's quite a massive part of the project. It can go up or it can go down. And I'll say Marina took it up, and away. Could not have been happier. She is an immense pleasure to work with, and we've gone on to work on numerous other projects together, and I'm sure that will continue well into the future if she'll keep working with me. But the colors she pulled out, the contrast she pulled out, and the texture she pulled out was incredible. So we wanted to shoot this on film. We couldn't. Marina helped us to achieve somewhat that feeling of it and really dial into the feeling of the characters themselves. So overall, could not have been happier, even if we shot it on film. She's amazing to work with. She'll tell you if you're stupid, which I am a lot, so that's helpful. And she really has a very, very, very unique OCD level of detail, which I do not have. So it's lovely to have that on your side. And congrats to Marina. It was an immense pleasure, and she nailed it. Thank you. Enjoy.
You see the way he was grabbing his shirt at the end? That's because you bring that intense energy. He was nervous. He was nervous there. Why did you submit this project?
Hello?
Yeah, you there.
Why I submitted the project is because it's not really a commercial, right? It's like Converse is behind it, but it's actually kind of like a poetic film that is honoring photography. And you haven't seen the full piece, but basically the family members are calling each other and being very excited about meeting for a family portrait at the end. And I thought it was really beautiful, and the collaboration was so easy with the team, and I felt that I could really express my own taste and style, and it was just pure joy. So yeah, really loved it.
Right on. It was originally shot in Senegal with a tobacco filter. How did this influence the grade?
So Jake Gabay, the DOP, he shot with a tobacco filter, and he wanted to catch really the warmth and the dust in Senegal. I mean, I've never been there. I wish I was. But I think at the end we had a lot of warmth in the frame for the tobacco filter, but then we decided we want to have some color back. Jake brought some references from photographer Alex Webb, and we really loved those, and got inspired to pull out a few more colors, but still keeping all the warmth. And I think the tobacco filter probably helped to just keep them like in an undertone for sure. Yeah. So.
Tell us more about the look. Like, where were your references? You just mentioned Alex, which is an incredible reference, and it's clear from the grade and the actual frames themselves. But any more references you think might be special to mention, or like, because look, the DPs, we all know DPs we come with all types of busy stuff in business, books and everything, and we forget that the colorist is an artist as well. You have your own reference, your own frame of reference. And on one of the calls, especially with regards to Homecoming, one of our jurists was talked specifically about color and how color is culture, and that everybody's interpretation around color is different. It depends on where you're coming from, who you are, you know, what birthed you, what piece of molecule turned into you, you know, and that's a big conversation. So it'd be great to hear, like, what specifically this project, when you saw the material, like, what did it spark in you? Like, what did it bring to the surface? Something familiar or something unfamiliar?
I think it was really just Senegal also providing all these colors that I usually don't see in Germany, where I'm from. So it's totally different, and they had a lot of amazing production design as well. The clothes are really inspiring. I think for this one, because when you get references from a DP, right, it doesn't mean you should copy anything. It's a guidance, and even though those references were really colorful, it also means to pick the colors that you really want in that film, and it still has to be like a whole palette that is not all over the place and not too many colors. So I think just keeping those like in place, but in a very subtle way, and introducing colors or like taking away others, just to feel the palette more complete was really the goal. And we also looked at the texture, of course, and yeah, they both wanted to shoot on film, and I just helped giving like that kind of feeling to it, adding a bit of sharpening and like playing with different frequencies. I mean, we all have so many great tools now, right? It's like when I started out, I didn't have any grain plugin, and I did so many versions of grain that are very cringe. So looking back at your old work, yeah, right, it's like, but it's good to see that we now have a lot of good tools, and now we just have to dial them to taste, I think. So
right. And what's the balance that you have to strike? I'm gonna ask all of you this, but what's the balance you have to strike? You know, because such a collaborative art form at every step of the way, and it doesn't end in the grading suite, right? That collaborative spirit has to continue on there, and whatever that collaborative spirit was on set usually ends up showing up in the color grading suite. So how do you find, what do you do? Like, it doesn't have to be about what you're doing on the board. Like, what's your ritual? Do you meditate? Do you burn candles? Do you burn incense? Do you pray? Like, what do you do in the room to like create that healthy but collaborative distance so that you can be in your zone, do the work you're doing, and still service the story and service the needs of the director and the cinematographer? Like, how do you strike that balance?
do you mean in the session itself?
In the session,
okay.
yeah. In the session.
Yeah, okay.
Let's stay in the session, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Let's stay there.
I mean, for this one, it was easy because they just let me do my thing, and then I worked on my own first, and then I sent over some first drafts, and then we hopped on a remote session, and it was not to go through feedback, really. It was more like hanging out with friends and just talking about life and stuff and getting to know each other, because it was the first collaboration that we had. And I was just grading away, and then when especially when someone like talks, and it's like listening to a podcast, right? And then you can just really go into your little tunnel, but also listening, kind of, it's really nice. But I think just for like the whole session, I think it's always important to stay open to ideas, and sometimes they can be silly, and then you think it's not going to work, and then you try it and you're surprised. So I think that's, a lot of good things come out of just letting an idea cook too long.
Yeah. Word. Well, thank you, Marina, for all the beautiful work. Really special. Thank you. Dante's obviously not here. Dante is a partner senior colorist at Ethos Studios. Dante's signature style blends elegant, intuitive color with textural atmosphere, bringing a refined yet edgy sensibility to both commercial and artistic work. And if you don't remember, Dante did the Bad Bunny video. He has graded campaigns for brands including Gucci, Apple, Adidas, Google, and has worked on feature films such as Thelma, which premiered at Sundance, and Skincare.
I think that there are many reasons why the color in Wabiyol ended up looking the way that it does. But I think one reason is that Dante is, first and foremost, an incredibly talented colorist, but also a really passionate colorist whose interest and love for color for the love of each project extends way beyond the
the actual session. So in this case, for Nueva Yol, if I remember correctly, I shot tests at the camera checkout, both on Vision 3 and with my DSLR in S-Log 3. I sent him the negatives of both. He created LUTs for both, matching LUTs for both. So then when I was on set and I was lighting, I had a pretty reliable preview of what the color ended up being. So that just enabled me to make smarter and more nuanced lighting decisions that ultimately impacted the final color. And so that's one of many reasons, but I think a really important reason that the color ended up looking the way that it did.
The challenge of only one submission per category is that you really have to think about each project thoughtfully. Ryan and Ronell shot something so beautiful and real. I think the grade really speaks to that without being forceful. We really wanted the piece to feel timeless, not too graded, but we also wanted it to portray the feeling of the song. I think we found that in the end with a nice mix of contrast and subtle levels of neutral saturation. Ronell, Ryan, and I were all in different parts of the world, so it was all remote in all hours of our days. We worked through some initial looks and tested how it felt scene by scene before getting into much more technical passes. We really wanted 3 distinct looks. The 35mm, we wanted to feel subtle and true. The 16, we wanted to push into an archival reversal stock look. And the black and white, we wanted to be rich and contrasty. Ryan and I have developed some level of shorthand over the years, so our initial conversations were really around the feeling of the scan. For some of the 35mm, we were referencing films like Birth or specific print stills from the 80s. For the 16mm, we had a clip from a 1984 documentary in New York, which was shot on reversal and had an incredibly rich look. Ronell also had shot some beautiful photos to reference for the black and white print look. Maybe it's too obvious of an answer, but the drone shot ended up being really challenging. Fitting it into the same world as the 35 without it breaking the flow of the piece was quite an exercise. We ended up staring at blown up grain for a bit too long. Another challenge was finding a stronger look for the 16mm at the end that still felt of the same world. I think in the end, those challenges led to a much more interesting grade.
And next we'll go to Franziska. Franziska Heinemann is a freelance colorist based in Cologne. Working. Man, I thought I had it. You saw that? You see, it was nearly. And let them know that's the difference. Bavaria. That's yes. Based in Bavaria, working remotely across the globe. She is known for her refined eye and distinctive visual style. Franziska has worked across feature films, commercials, and music videos, collaborating closely with directors and cinematographers to craft emotionally resonant images. She's worked on commercials for leading global brands like Google, BMW, Adidas, and Vogue. She was nominated twice tonight under Commercial Her Win, as well as the Emerging Talent category. Her work blends technical precision with a deep sensitivity to storytelling, making her one of the most exciting voices in contemporary color grading. Yes. So this commercial is actually aimed at cinematographers. Can you describe the look of the project and what's unique about it?
I think we aimed for something I would call noble naturalism, or of course I did like many, or I did keys and masks and all of that stuff and tested out some things with FPE beforehand, before talking to Máté and Nick. But the goal was to stay naturalistic and to stay true to the product, to the bluff bounce, which emulates natural light. So for me, it was important to keep that in mind. Like, I'm building a look, but if you're speaking about the look and feel, it's also very important, if not even more important, with that project, to find the feel as well. And for me, communication is key. Like, when communication spark kicks in, for me, a project gets really fun and I enjoy it the most. And that was like 100% with Máté and Nick. So I'm really, really thankful that we met. Yeah, and it also helped to talk about different perceptions of color. Like Matteo talked about green tones in Brazil. I guess because of more chlorophyll and more direct sunlight, it appears really saturated, rare. And here in Europe, we have quite different green tones. And also talking with Nick about the inventing story of a bluff bounce helped to just talk about our different perceptions, because everybody brings their point of view to a grading table. And I think after all the technical preparing stuff, most importantly is listening to the DP and the director about their vision, and then just moving onwards from where on.
Right on. Give me some. Let's talk about references. Can you give us a few of the references that you may have been thinking about when you were grading, or even stuff that came from Matteo and Nick? Like, what was that conversation?
Funnily, about references, I asked Nick and Matteo beforehand, did we have any references? Because I couldn't remember, and we did not have. It was just nature. So I really like to take walks in general, and while I was grading the bluff bounce when crossing a river, I always thought of a bluff bounce and the sky reflecting in the water and the trees, especially now in autumn, it got really beautiful. So that helped me a lot. So for me, the biggest inspiration, I'm also not living in a big city, I'm living in Bavaria. For me, the biggest inspiration is just nature. So I also got photo books in my suite, and if people come, we share them. But with that project, it was really just talking about our perception. I think that's a beautiful thing about art and the beauty of art. If we take a walk, each of us will come back and see a different thing. And if I look outside my office, I see concrete, the sky, lots of trees, all of it changing its atmosphere by the time of day. And that's the biggest pool of inspiration for me. And it also fitted the project really well, I think.
Right. I'll say I want to follow up on something you talked about. This term, which you should coin. I'm gonna steal this from you, but this idea of noble naturalism, and I think it came up. And it's funny because I feel like that's the common thread between all the work that's being honored today and all the work that was submitted. That it was striking how much of the work that we saw felt, for lack of a better nomenclature, naturalistic. And it feels like that kind of image making is not only in the zeitgeist in terms of cinematographers and directors, but it's also showing up for you all in the color grading suite. And I know one of the discussions we had was about this idea of how much does a colorist push a look into an image, and that be honored, because that's something that we can all see in the image, right? And that means that your style and your intuition and your spirit is in the image versus something that's much more subtle, right? An image that shows up that has this, I love the term, this sort of noble naturalism, where you may not be pushing it as far, so it may be something more nuanced, right? Things that we can't see that we're feeling more. So can you kind of talk to us about, like, what's that like when you have to, or maybe that's been part of your practice, your career, you know? What does it feel? How do you settle that voice? I know we all as cinematographers have to settle that voice when we're on set, and we may want to make a decision that may seem not in tune with the story. We have to quiet that voice in our head and really stick to what's in front of us. How do you do that in the color suite when you're dealing with images that are so nobly naturalistic?
Like, what's the question? Sorry.
No, well, the question is, do you? You're right. What's the question? The question is like, do you feel like there seems to be this idea that a colorist is only to push color, is to push a look into an image versus, and what's your opinion about that versus an image that shows up quite natural and you're doing something that's more nuanced? Like, what's your feeling about that? Does it make a less meaningful experience for you when you can't push color into it versus when you're pushing less?
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
No, not at all. Like, both experiences are really good, but for me, I find out that I often tend to try out many things and also like to do masks and then just come back and toggle them off. And I think with bluff bounce it was the same. Like, I still did like face masks and stuff like that. and also stuff in the sky and just our toolkit as colorists. But as many things as I did, the equal amount of things I think I put off. So I think it's a really important part of the process, actually. And it's important to look maybe at the same image twice and try a different approach. As I said with walking, I often look at the same trees, and I also shot a roll of analog film of the trees in the park in front of my office. And each time I walk towards them, it looks different to me. So I think it's important to also keep communicating with the team and don't necessarily stick to one way. So it even makes the experience better. Right. I think. Yeah.
Right. And what was the most challenging part of the grade? Was it is it technical? Is it personnel? Is it a human resource? Like, what was the most challenging part of it?
So I could say something like the 8mm shots or matching them, but I think it's just our daily job as colorists. So. That's nothing too sincere talking about. I think it was, in that case, it was like the audience sitting in front of me, all of them with a really good eye, and all of them being the target group for the bluff bounds. So it were quite high stakes to fulfill regarding the grading, as to close the circle where I started. To still feel naturalistic and still feel like the light of the bluff bounds, even if weren't here, maybe I enhance it a little bit or do the speculars a little bit more so we can see the dark skin better, stuff like that.
Right on. Mateo, Nick, y'all here, right? You raise your hand, man. So when we're done, if you're a DP, get in his ear, because we gotta figure out what is this thing y'all got going. Yeah, bro. Pleasure.
First of all, big congrats to you, Franziska. This was a project that started around 3 or 4 years ago. From a point of view of my couch, I was doing a digital detox, and I was watching this light coming through my window, and I was like, how can I recreate this quality of light? So I started to experiment bouncing light into fabrics. And around a year ago, my good friend Matteo, who directed this film, and we wanted to do a film that shows more in an isolated way what this bounce does to the light. It was Matteo who then one day came across Franziska's work, and we really wanted to bring her point of view to the project as well. And it's such a great pleasure to work with someone who can both understand your vision and what you want to show and the details of the skin tones but also bring something new to it. I don't know, you brought things to the project that we didn't see ourselves, and I think that's the huge gift of working with colorists.
Thank you.
Thank you, and
thank you.
Congrats.
Yeah, thank you. Now to Connor for Goodshot. Connor Bailey is co-founder and colorist at House Post in Los Angeles. Connor made the leap into grading after his first short film in high school sparked a deep interest in imagery and tone. Since then, he's brought a filmic, story-first sensibility to his projects, from documentary pilots, streaming on Amazon, to award shortlisted music videos and branded content.
Hello, my name's Hayden Mason. I was the cinematographer on Goodshot, graded by the one and only Connor Bailey. Shout out to Connor. This movie was a bit of a quilt. A lot of looks, a lot of themes. It's kind of a film about a guy looking back on his life, nostalgia, regret. It's about a community, so there's a lot to bring in and marry together, and I think Connor did an amazing job at that. Having not been on set where we had all these conversations and discussed this ad nauseum, he really came in and not only added polish, but I honestly added like another 30% to the look, made me look way better. It was, at the end of the day, a documentary. We were doing everything we could to give it a look, but there were plenty of times where we needed to dodge and burn and bring things out, and there was a lot to find, and I think he did an amazing job. You know, our references there weren't so many movies. I mean, there was a few like specific European films and a lot of very slow burn documentaries, but mostly it was photography and something about how a photo book takes a subject matter and looks at it from every angle and approaches portraiture with empathy. That just felt right for this. And I think the grade was no different. You know, we wanted things to be as they are, but at the same time have a certain softness, a certain romanticism to them. And dude just killed it. Like, I was surprised at how good it looked in the end. You know, we spent a lot of days in the grade together, but Connor spent just as many alone finding things and making it better. And I just can't thank him enough. And I'd like to thank the jury as well. And thank you to the audience. And I hope everyone has a great time out there.
Connor, thank you. Thank you for the work. Can you just give us a little bit, tell us a little bit about the process of working with the director and the DP, and how much of the pre-production process were you involved in? Like, how much of that planning?
I was not involved in pre-production. It was a documentary, and man, I think they started shooting about 4 years before I was brought on.
Right.
So it was actually I was the second colorist. The first colorist changed careers in the middle of the grade, and so they weren't. So Hayden, who is a friend of mine, reached out, and we started talking about the film, and he sent me the teaser, and just right away, it was beautiful. He's an amazing DP, and then we started passing references back and forth, and just kind of dove right into it. Right. I did a few sessions with Hayden, kind of off the bat to like really establish the look and kind of go through like hero scenes and whatnot. And then yours came in and gave his thoughts, and then we spent, I think from start to finish, about 11 months.
Okay.
A lot of back and forth.
Wow.
They went back and shot more, and yeah. And,
right.
as a documentary, kind of goes, the story developed, and new things came out, and they added things as the edit changed, and certain scenes didn't work anymore, and it was quite a process. Yeah,
I was talking about references. The Gregory Crutzen kind of reference is here on the paper, but obviously it's very clear in the image. Can you just kind of talk about some of that? What inspired? Yeah, what you guys were doing. I mean, obviously the framing too, but the color is really. It's like the Gregory Crutzen sort of Todd Hiddo thing. That feeling when I'm seeing the images that really spoke to me as I watched the film.
Yeah. Gregory Crutzen's like one of my favorite photographers, and his more modern work is very it's very expressive, but the look is very like retained and pulled back, and it doesn't distract from the image. It's very if you've ever looked into his process, it's very heavily designed. And every image just feels so powerful and so just like it just pops off of whatever you're looking at on the book, the screen, whatever. His work, and just seeing Kurland specifically with Girl Pictures, that whole photo book is just like a gem. Right. It's all such beautiful work, and that really informed us with just how. I think, like what Franziska said, like noble naturalism, like how, we create a look, and it's an expressive look, but it's not in the way of the story, because ultimately it's a documentary, and we're trying to really just kind of push that forward, and those references, we use those as the main references, but we also just spent a lot of time kind of just finding the look.
Right.
And
I think documentaries now feel and look very different from documentaries, a decade or two ago. It just, the way we're shooting them is completely different. They're way more cinematic, for lack of a better nomenclature, they're way. Can you can you, with feature films, one of the main, let's just say for me with Joe, the first pass is always about consistency. We'll get into the story later. Let's just make sure we've got like a common thread here that we can ride, and feature film work is it has that kind of built into the ethos of how we make it and how we approach the finishing of it. Documentaries are completely different because, as you said, it takes 11 months, a year, 4 years. The process is a very long process. Can you kind of talk to us about, what's that like when you're on a project like a documentary that has, it has its own ups and downs. It's got consistency issues. It's got depending on what it is, multiple format issues. It's got people, framing is different because you may have multiple DPs. Like, can you kind of talk to us about how you harnessed something, a project that's so live and generative, even in the process of making it? Like, what's that process like as a colorist?
It can, documentaries can be difficult. Like you said, it's a lot, it's shot on everything under the sun. I think this film had like, mini DV, it had 16, it had both Tri-X, positive and then some negative. It had archival, Super 8 from when Maxwell was a child. It had High 8, it had VHS, it had, and then the bulk of the film was shot in the Sony Venice, which it's kind of unique for a documentary. It was, a lot of the film is kind of shot intentionally. So most of it was kind of planned out like I guess a traditional narrative feature, which made it a little easier. And I think we just kind of leaned into each format and didn't really try to make anything something it wasn't. A lot of the kind of alternative formats are in the form of like archival footage, so there wasn't really any need to push it into I guess the overall hero look that we had created for the footage that they had recorded on the Venice. But we did give it a look, and we did try to kind of keep consistency across the board, and that kind of looks like just balancing and watching it over and over again and making sure it flows and yeah.
Yeah, so thank you, Connor, for the work. Beautiful.
Of course.
Yeah, appreciate you. So now, Sir Peter Doyle. Peter Doyle is a supervising colorist whose approach centers on respecting creative intention and preserving the cinematographer's light. Drawing on photochemical and digital expertise, he shapes color grades that support a film's aesthetic language. His work on The Matrix, The Lord of the Rings, Inside Llewyn Davis, and Macbeth is widely regarded as influential in the development of modern and color grading practices.
Bruno.
Yeah. Hi, Chivo.
How are you?
I'm okay.
They asked us to talk about Peter. Congratulations, Peter, first of all.
Yes, congratulations, Peter. Fantastic.
This is very well deserved.
Yeah, I agree. I'm gonna agree on everything Chivo said. Yeah.
So I met Peter thanks to Bruno, so I appreciate Bruno. It was a fantastic collaboration with both of you. Peter is not only an incredible colorist, but he's a great artist, I think.
He's really amazing. It's exactly what you said. He's a great artist, and his suggestions are incredibly valuable.
Yeah, a real collaborator.
Yeah, exactly. So, on Disclaimer, it was kind of amazing because he was in between you, me, and Alfonso. And don't forget Alfonso.
Crazy.
So, I'm not sure the two of us were the craziest. Yeah, so
I'm sure we were not. But you're right. He knows how to. He knew how to deal with the three of us, and keep our ideas kind of together in a way.
There was something special about this project, which was I didn't see what you were doing, and you didn't see what I was doing, and in fact I started grading before you did, and Peter was very careful not to show me what you did on set, and the only judge was Alfonso. Some ways he was the two of them were kind of controlling the consistency of both words.
That's right.
and it was kind of interesting project for that. Not seeing what you were doing was kind of tricky, because I really wanted to see something, because I
feel the same way. In fact, this has nothing to do with this, but the idea for me to having you doing this series was to learn from you, and I end up not being able to get to your set and not to watch ourselves working or seeing our work until the very end. But it was Peter who kept. He and Guaron would keep us. I cannot say consistent, but the movie had a language, and they were keepers of that.
Yeah, exactly. And I think there is some kind of, even if it's a different consistency, which is a very strange concept, but it was kind of interesting, and Peter and Alfonso were able to find the language of both work, and for this project, specific to this project, and I really admire both of them. I mean, obviously, and you as well, Chivo, but it's not about brown nosing, but Peter was, because he knew both work, and he was able to say, we shouldn't go this direction. He was not telling me, why, but he had a plan, and it was really interesting for that.
I also remember something we got to talk about is we got these ARRI cameras when they were not even finished.
True.
We agreed with ARRI that we were going to work with the cameras before they finished building them. And it was very important to have Peter there to help us with all the testing and all the lot creation. And
his collaboration between, he was in between ARRI and FilmLight as well. It was just like, wow, this is so new that we have to develop something with FilmLight. And he was in between, and he understood everything they said when I didn't. It was just like, what? I mean, let's do that.
No, but that's what I mean. He's a color scientist and a mega geek. Like, he understands the things we don't. So it was very important for us to have him in the project.
Yeah.
I like to work with him so much that I'm working with him right now. He's so like there in a room, in a dark room, trying to fix my mistakes. So thank you so much, Peter. Yeah. Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations. Yeah, it's fantastic and so well deserved. Yes, really. He helped me so much on every movie I've done. I've done 15 movies with him, and every time he pushed the envelope and was trying to understand what I was trying to do with my own word. So it was sometimes I don't understand what you're looking for exactly, but let's try this. That's anyway. Say again.
I have a new button. That can do that. Yeah. He stays all night figuring it out. I know he's passionate about his work. Yeah.
I chose disclaimer to submit because it was a very interesting project in that it was combining both a very technical challenge, which was how to represent truly and accurately the color on set of the production design and the costume design, but also creatively how to interpret those colors and create two POVs, but also within those POVs two time periods, and also to be working with Bruno and Chivo is obviously just fantastic, but to be able to almost venerate their light and then to combine it into an overall film. In terms of collaboration with Alfonso, the director, and the DPs, Chivo and Bruno, it really was a question of defining kind of what our end goal was, and then working backwards with what tools that the guys wanted to use, so what cameras and what lenses Bruno and Chivo wanted to use, and then what kind of lighting packages and style that they wanted to light the production design and costumes with, and then to really build a pipeline and a set of tools that allowed everyone to create the end goal, which would be, you know, a delivery to our studio. So in terms of collaboration, it really was a question of what do you need? This is what I need. How do we get there? And what's the best way to do it? In terms of the most challenging part of the project, I would say using a new camera where technically the gray card or the, you know, skin tone or LAD was rated at a slightly different level. And also I think for everyone to just kind of come up with a style and a look that would work for HDR and for this streaming world.
And now we're going to hit the theatrical feature category. But before I do that, sorry, Máté, we have one of the DPs from one of the most beautiful, one of the greatest films shot this year. We have, don't hide your face, Autumn. We got Autumn Durald Akropal here. So please, let's give her a round of applause. If y'all don't know, Autumn shot a film called Sinners. Y'all know that film? Yeah.
Say something?
You don't have to say nothing. I ain't tell you to come up, but you want to come up. That's you. That's how you
am
do
I
it.
here to say something? Kostas can't be here, but I had such a beautiful time working with him. I think one thing that Brad knows, and that people that, you know, shoot movies and shoot in general know, that good human beings, it starts there. And this man that sat with me in the room for, I don't know, like 5-6 weeks, was a beautiful human being. And I think he protected the visual story that we wanted to tell, Ryan and I, and he made sure that that heart and the density and just everything about it was, you know, protected, and made sure that what we wanted was, the end result was what we wanted from the start. So I'm sad he didn't win, but I'm here to say that he's a beautiful man, and he does a great job whenever I've been on 2 movies with him. I did Last Showgirl with him as well. Cool.
Beautiful. Thank you for your work. Thank you for your work. Máté, let's go, bro. Máté Ternyik is based in Budapest, Hungary. He studied film and TV production at the University of York and began his post-production career in London at UNIT and The Mill. He later joined the Hungarian Film Lab, gaining deep experience in both analog and digital image workflows. Since becoming a freelancer in 2019, Máté has graded numerous TV projects and over a dozen feature films, including festival selections in Venice, Berlin, Sundance, and more, with explanation for everything winning Best Film at Venice in 2023. Known for his technical insight and creative collaboration, Máté continues to push the boundaries of cinematic color and storytelling.
What can I say? Congratulations and thank you. Obviously sending you love, best wishes from a very wet and dreary LA at the moment, so don't be too jealous. It's probably sunnier out at the festival. Listen, congratulations again, man, on winning the FilmLight Colour Award. It's incredible. Like, what an achievement. I'm really, I couldn't be more happy for you and proud of our collaboration. Just wish I could be there to celebrate with you. Where do I start with this movie? You know, what a journey for both of us. You know, when we first met you, you were our dailies colorist for The Brutalist, and within a very short period of time, you know, Brady and I turned to each other and were like, should just get him to do the whole movie. I mean, he's nailing it. So, you know, that's kind of a rare thing, and very, very lucky for us to have somebody producing such beautiful dailies, but would also work on the final movie. So it was a very, obvious and seamless and valuable transition for us to have that, on the film. I like to nail the image as much as I possibly can in camera. I think, certainly you and I hope others have seen enough of my work to know that I don't play it safe, So one of the things that's been great about having you as a collaborator is that you've understood where we want to sit the negative, and when you're not playing it safe, your printer lights come in low. You can get that dreadful phone call from the lab saying there's an issue with the exposure. Having that close collaboration with you on this movie, on The Brutalist, allowed me to be reassured that you had our backs, that you knew what the aesthetic of the movie was. And we could, you'd pull us back if we went too far, but you just knew where we were trying to sit the film, and it meant that we could all be bold together, So thank you for that, It's like I say, I try to get it right in camera as much as possible, but the collaboration with you throughout, and then taking it further in the grading, and all the work that you did with myself and also with Brady and with the VFX work, it was such a large amount of work that you took on, and VistaVision as well, obviously, and making the VistaVision blend seamlessly with the 35mm, traditional 35mm 3-per footage, adding grain, reducing the blue. The noise in the blue channel, as it were, when we were underexposing or push processing. It's such delicate nuance and care, I think, is a really important thing to say, about our work together on that movie. And then since then, we've obviously done another movie together and commercials, and I'm looking forward to the continuation of our collaboration and seeing where we go next. Máté, you're a true collaborator. You have a wonderful eye, and you will fight alongside us to protect the intention of the photography. But you are also a truly kind and gentle soul. What a wonderful achievement! Congratulations again, and have a drink on me. All right. Love to you all. Take care.
Well, it says here, how did you end up on this project? I'm not going to ask you that, bro. Because I know Brady and Lowell, and I know how they work, and their reputation for the way they work precedes them, and they have a very original process, and I mean that with all love and sincerity. These are two very special artists. So just more on not really how you met them or how you got, but like what's it like? It's really what's it like working with two. I don't know, like generation defined. I mean, especially Brady. I'll say this. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to speak for you, but like Brady his journey is amazing. He's just as visual as Lowell. So how do you, what's that like? And then, what's that collaboration feel like? What's it like?
It's super rewarding.
Right.
I think, when the thought that occurred to me when you asked the question was that when you manage to land an image in a pretty happy place, many people would just go, okay, cool, we can move on. These guys get so excited when something starts looking the way they imagined that it will, that it just it gets you addicted to just making everything want to look even better and make them happier, because it's a very rewarding experience.
Yeah, you guys put the grace note on. I mean, look, VistaVision is it. Now we're going to be shooting, like, it's not going to be abnormal for people to be shooting projects on VistaVision, right? It's a format that was like waiting for us. It makes so much sense. It's 35mm. You don't have to redo the labs. It doesn't have to be any new knowledge on that front. But as Lowell said, there has to be some new knowledge applied in the grading, and obviously what Lowell's doing with his exposures, because the grain structure is different. For me, when I tested VistaVision on a film about 4 years ago, it was like I loved it because it was dirty, super dirty and volatile, but also loved it because it was also like a richness to it that you don't get from regular 4-perf, 3-perf, 2-perf 35. So like, what's the challenge? You're in the vanguard. Like, what should we be expecting now that I'm sure some of us in this audience and on this panel are going to be finding more and more VistaVision in the grading suite?
I think it's a very exciting format, and I think it brings a lot of, as you say, a lot of character. In some ways, it's more grand, it's more pristine, it's more clear. In other ways, it's a bit dirtier. The cameras are there are less of them. They are older. They are not as well used and well maintained. We had issue with not issue, but we had to tackle some flicker, some more movement in the gate. We had to add flicker to non-flickering 3-perf images to kind of make them kind of connect better. And there's a difference in like grain structure, as you and I think Lowell also pointed out. So I think that's not like out of everyone whose work is kind of touched and influenced by the use of VistaVision, I don't think my work has influenced the most, but I certainly had to kind of do some special things to make it be a part of the movie.
Right. Great. References.
I was waiting for this question.
Yeah, let's go.
It's so funny with them. They send me, like, they showed me. So as Lowell said, I got involved. I did the first camera tests and then went from there. And they showed me images of photography and paintings, some for the light, some for the composition, some for colors. We talked a lot about like having worked at a film lab for quite a few years. I was pretty familiar with some of the kind of more intricate processes that happen in a lab. So there was a lot of discussion on how to treat and mistreat film in kind of interesting ways. But then I think it was when we were grading our third camera test, Brady called Daniel, the composer for the film, who was working on the score already, and he hummed and sang on the phone the bit of score that will be going to sort of that scene. So like it was also references like that, just a bit of like a bit of music or a piece of architecture, and so they invested a lot of their time and effort into kind of helping me see their vision in every aspect of that, and kind of let it kind of ferment in me and kind of just celebrated what came out the other end.
Right. I'm trying to figure out how to frame this. Not the challenges that you had to like climb that actually knocked you down, but like what were the challenges that like generated new ideas? Where were the things that, if there were any, how to specifically with the film, because it has so many. It seems like it. What was the result? Like, what was the output of that? Like, what did you discover?
Yeah, like Lowell said, he likes to push the boundaries of film. He likes to underexpose. He likes to use tungsten balance stock outside after sunset when it's 1,000,000 Kelvin.
Right.
And sort of when you're like 3 stops under, all sorts of weird things happen. And sort of my job, one of the most important things I had to do on this project is they had these images in their head that they knew that they could achieve by torturing the neg in certain ways, but those processes yielded 12 different sort of characteristics, and they only liked 8 of those.
Right.
And my job was to get rid of the other 4, so that they had a license to kind of go there and push the boundaries, and so that was kind of the challenge for me, to kind of create the safety of doing something bold and maybe unusual in some ways.
It's that thing of like when you underexpose something and it shows up as is, and you're fearful. But then you start doing stuff, and something emerges, right? And when that thing emerges, you have all this confidence in real time, like you actually are saying something. And it's so, and what you're doing is you're battling all the things that have told you before that you're not able to say something in that way. But as soon as you normalize it in that sort of narrative perspective, then you just have license and to be brave. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think for this reason also, it was very crucial for me to have been involved from such early on in the process. It was one of the first days of the shoot where they were shooting the scene in front of the soup kitchen, and they were planning to underexpose and push 2 stops, but in the end they lost all the light and they ended up underexposing quite a bit more.
Right.
And then they came in 2 days later. We started like working out how to deal with that, and in sort of that process, we discovered some recipes for dealing with some things that they were very happy with, and then they just went on and did more, and went further than they originally planned. And I think they had, as Lowell said, they had a lot of confidence in doing so, having had those experiences of it being okay. And
right. And this will be my last question. Since you have this kind of interesting duality, you've worked in the lab, like you've worked smelling that nasty stuff, and then now you're in a space where you're dealing with ones and zeros. Like what do you, if you have a thought on it, like
I think I'm very fortunate to be part of my generation, and also having been exposed to so much analog, just imagery. I feel like that's it's a very fortunate thing in my career to have been a part of that. And I think a lot of this is subconscious, just like being familiar with how things are supposed to look when they're done a certain way. But also because I live and work in Hungary, and there's a lot of Budapest has 2 working film labs, which I think London is the closest city to be able to claim much, and I'm not sure how many other cities there are. So it's a very great place to be, to shoot and work with film. And actually, if I think back to this past 12 months, I think 80% of the projects that I have worked on since The Brutalist were shot on film.
Right.
And it kind of continues to be this trend, and I feel like that gives me a great opportunity to kind of employ a lot of the experience that I was lucky enough to gather while working at a film lab in my sort of everyday digital grading.
Word. Thank y'all so much. It's been beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank y'all, audience. Appreciate you. Appreciate your time. Hope you enjoyed it.